Today we're going to be talking about 5, maybe a little bit more by way of just discussing these things, but 5, as some would say, major or unforgivable plot holes with The Force Awakens.
You know who you are. Derek, lay it down for me.
So we got 5 plot holes. 1 is the disappearance of Poe, particularly when he comes down in the TIE Fighter, and then Finn and him crash. And then 2, we have Rey getting Force powers extremely quickly.
Right. I've heard multiple people mention that one.
3, how do the Rathars not kill Han Solo? Like, they're just wandering around on the ship, aren't they?
Aren't they?
Aren't they? How in the world could Kylo Ren sense Han Solo and not be able to find him?
Right.
That's the 4th one.
That's good.
Number 5, what's up with the Starkiller base in the first place? How is it defended?
I just like the name Starkiller Base. Can I say that?
Yeah, I like it too.
It's kind of like a bully calling himself Butch or something like that. It's like, I'm just going to call it how it is. Got a problem with that?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to call the bully Steve.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Steve's coming.
I'm Edwin. Call me Edwin. No, I'm Starkiller Base, yo.
First off, the disappearance of Poe.
Right. Okay, so...
So, basically, the qualm is, how in the heck is Poe gone, and then he randomly shows up later in the film without any explanation?
Right. They're both in TIE Fighter, crash land,
on Jakku.
and then it's just Finn.
Right. Basically, what I'm thinking to explain this for everybody is, first, I think we just need to talk a little bit, just briefly, about what actually a plot hole is. So, a plot hole is something that either explicitly or apparently contradicts something else in the movie. Right. By way of example, Padme...
To use Star Wars.
Yeah. Padme dying in Episode 3 as she's giving birth, and then Luke Skywalker asking Princess Leia in Episode 6 what she remembers about her mother, and then her saying, oh, she was sad all the time. That doesn't make any sense. That's a plot hole, people. I hate to say it, but it is. It's those darned prequels coming up again.
It's those darn prequels, kids.
Yeah. Now, I would say that this borderline falls under apparent contradiction, but I would say that that you could probably explain it in such a way where it's not a contradiction, really. And it's not even a plot hole, if you really think about it.
It's definitely not a contradiction to anything, I don't think.
Right.
So, one explanation could be... So, I actually view this as kind of a props, thumbs up to the authors. I mean, obviously there's this thing where we need Finn to go on his own adventure, and he's just there, and we're going to follow him as a newbie space ranger. And they have him, he's ejected from the TIE Fighter, which that one, after I saw it the second time, I was kind of, I was wondering about that. But the scene of the second time, he's ejected almost a mile away from the TIE Fighter. So it's, in all probability, Poe was also ejected maybe a mile the other way from the TIE Fighter.
Right.
We don't know when he's going to wake up, but Finn comes in to the TIE Fighter, and the TIE Fighter actually gets caught in the sand. Like, it just gets swallowed up in the sand. Which means, and this is why I give a thumbs up to the writers, which means that if Poe wakes up later, he actually has no way of locating the TIE Fighter because the smoke is all gone.
Yeah, there's no evidence of that ever happening.
Right, and inside the dunes, I mean, he's just not going to be able to find it. So what he's going to do is either find the next city, which could be closer than the one that Finn went to, or he gets picked up by somebody.
Yeah, that's possible too. Or he gets even, he finds the same city as Finn just a little bit later, like a little bit lagging behind. Because if you remember, all that stuff where Finn finds the city, and then all that stuff happens, it happens really quickly.
It happens really quick. Like, he gets there,
finds this girl.
They're running.
They're gone.
They're running with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, so if he got there after the fact, then he could be like, well, where's the droid? It's not here. We've completely lost it. Just give up hope kind of thing and just leave. Right. That's very possible.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Also, it's good to remember that the Resistance knew where Poe was when he was on that planet. And so, like, even if something did happen, they'd be like, oh, what happened to Poe? We need to send somebody to go check that out. So that's very possible as well.
In all likelihood, he probably wanted them to think that he just died.
For all we know, they could have seen his X-Wing blow up. Like, they could have had, like, some kind of radar or something like that on it. It shows that. So there's multiple ways to explain that. I don't really see it as a plot hole. So every plot hole that we disprove will just go... Give me a break.
All right, next.
Rey getting her Force powers extremely quickly. How in the world does this happen?
Right. Because
nobody else does this.
Right. Well, I think somebody mentioned Luke specifically in saying that he gets his Force powers gradually over time, which is cool. I mean, like, I remember as a kid watching them and being like, oh, he's growing. He's growing. He can, like, deflect bullets without looking, which that's cool, like in the first film.
Right.
But then there's, like, a specific moment in the film 5 where, at the beginning, where he's, like, reaching out for his lightsaber and you can tell it's kind of like a first for him. I don't know, maybe it's not a first, but it seems like it's a first and you're like, oh, yes, he can use the Force!
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Reach your hand out, Luke. Pull the lightsaber to you. Anyway.
Yes! As I like what you say, this is explained by the title of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's called The Force Awakens, people.
Right.
Something is happening that has not either A, it has not happened before, or B, it's something that's special that's happening right now.
Could it have been something extraordinary that happens later?
I now realize the stupidity of my own story.
Good night.
And I recant.
I love it.
Yeah, so, I mean, the title itself explains that.
Right.
Plus, you have what seems like they go out of their way to explain some certain things. Like, she touches the lightsaber, you hear voices. The last voice being Obi-Wan that's like, Rey, these are your first steps. It's like, okay, she has connection with the Force in a special way that nobody else does.
And that's a big deal. Like, when Maz comes down and she's, like, all excited because this lightsaber was Luke's and his father's before him. Right. And now it's calling to you. Which I think is the writers kind of tipping us off to saying maybe where they're going to go with it as far as her genealogy is considered. But
right, it's possible. So I feel like that's adequately explained. People.
Right.
And now we have, how do the Rathars not kill Han? Like, aren't they just wandering around on the ship aimlessly and somehow he got them on?
Right. So there's a somebody posted something online about this. They're like, so why are the Rathars just not killing anybody? Or so somebody was like, how did Han Solo just by himself get the Rathars onto this freight?
Silly person. You know who you are if you're watching this.
Yes, this happens when you're watching a movie in the theater and you say, excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Oh, hey.
All right, what'd I miss?
All right,
oh, never mind. Never mind, I'll fill in the blanks with my head.
Okay.
It's all right, we're keeping it real on this show.
All right, so it's stupid because it's explicitly explained. Han Solo says, oh man, maybe one of the Rathars got out when they hear a bang in the ship, and he goes out to check. Oh wait, no, it's somebody docking with them. And he's like, yeah, you have Rathars on this ship? Yeah, I do. I used to have a much larger crew, but I got to capture the Rathars.
Right.
And so he puts them in these cages. In cells. They're like, where are the Rathars? There's one inside the cell. With the locked door.
Because Finn's like, as soon as he hears Rathars, he has to go change his pants.
Yeah. He just
and he's like,
himself.
Rathars, how did you get them on this ship? And he's like, I used to have a bigger crew. Which, that was a horrible Han Solo impersonation. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah. Can you do better, Han Solo? Like, he's like,
kid, I used to have a better... I don't know.
He doesn't move his mouth that much. He's like,
I used to have a better crew.
I used to have a better crew.
Yeah. It's explained, people. Watch the movie.
And
if you didn't pick it up the first time, then...
And how do the Rathars...
Then watch it again.
And how do the Rathars get out? I mean, of the cages that they're obviously in?
Yeah, that's right. Rey is climbing under the grates below the floor.
Right.
And she starts messing with the power, and she's like... What is the exact term for it?
I think she says resetting the fuses.
Yeah. I'm going to reset the fuses. Oops! Wrong fuses, for the love of Pete. Opens up the Rathar doors. They start running wild and eating people. Which brings up one more thing that you mentioned that we could talk about.
Right.
The Rathars eating people. They eat everybody in sight except for Finn.
Or it seems like they eat everyone in sight.
It appears to be. But I also want to mention that everybody else seemed to be like shooting at them and stuff like that and running away. And then there's that one guy who's like running away and shooting behind him. And then the Rathar goes up into the ceiling and doesn't actually chase after him.
Right. Huh. And maybe it's more like a predator thing, like because he doesn't have a weapon, he's all friendly. Yeah. And he's just trying to give him a hug.
But let's just imagine here for a second that it all makes logical sense. It ate a few people already. So maybe it's not hungry anymore. Maybe it just wants to take him back to its lair. I mean, we don't know.
They're animals.
Do you have to have it explained? Come on now. This brings us to our fourth
Number 4.
major plot hole.
Unexplained. Unforgivable.
Unforgivable. Like, you should not watch this movie because of this.
I love the movie, I really do. But there are unforgivable plot holes in it.
Kylo Ren finding Han. How in the world did Kylo Ren not find Han in Starkiller Base? He walked right past him, people. How did that...
Well,
what?
The big thing with this is that there's this moment where... there's a moment where he's talking and he gets cut off mid-sentence because of this feeling
Han
the presence
Solo.
of somebody. Yeah, and he like turns around and he's like, Han Solo. Which I can't do Kylo Ren either. I'm sorry, people.
Han Solo.
Right. I love that guy's voice, by the way.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, we're not making fun of that. Go ahead.
It's just, oh man. Yeah, we could make a video all about that. It's not Bane, you know?
We're going here.
I think, wait, should we talk about whether it's cooler than Bane's? Because I think it is. And
I don't even compare the two because to me it didn't sound the same.
Right.
Like,
so
some people were like, it sounds like Bane. And I was like, what?
So I like Bane's voice, but like I feel like that was kind of a crazy muffled sound, whereas this guy is like, he's like a mix between Bane and Darth Vader, which is phenomenal. So it's like, it's a mechanical sound coming through his voice, but it's not muffled. It's just...
Yeah, it's just his voice, mechanical.
So what were we talking about again?
So... How in the world does he find Han Solo?
Oh,
he walks right past him.
Right, because he's supposed to have the Force powers to let him know where he's at, right?
Right, and then he recognizes that he was there. So,
or maybe it's just the Force powers to sense his general presence.
Yeah, which let's think about the history here.
Right.
Has there ever been a time when another Jedi or Sith has felt the presence of another Jedi or person?
Right, I think so.
Yes. Yes, there has been. And guess what it was? Twice. It happens twice that I know of.
Right.
Maybe even more than that.
Probably
but
more.
I can only think of twice. And the first one is episode 4. And that's when Darth Vader's on the Death Star. And Obi-Wan comes to the Death Star, people. And Darth Vader walks down there and he's like, I sense something. Something I have not felt since... And then just walks away. He was right at the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
Obi-Wan is on the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
And Darth Vader's supposed to be very strong in the Force, mind you. He's the chosen one. And he just ignores it and walks away from it. Right. It doesn't make any sense.
If you're saying that type of Force ability is like a GPS.
Yeah,
define
you know
people.
exactly where they are.
But apparently it's not like that. Apparently it's, I just sense a presence.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It's that people are putting their own preconceived ideas into something and forcing it in there. And they never said that. So it makes absolute sense that Kylo Ren, in episode 7, walks right past Han, knows that he's on the planet, like can sense him, but doesn't know exactly where he is. That's never been done in any of the other Star Wars movies, so why is that something that is done in this? It doesn't make... It's stupid. Alright, now, our fifth and final plot hole. Starkiller Base.
Good old Starkiller.
How are they able to destroy it when it's supposed to be more defended than the Death Star? How are they able to do that with the janitor and some random explosives that you found?
A sanitation
You've
worker?
happened to find these explosives because they're not special in any way. They're just random household explosives.
Household explosives. So one thing to make note of is that they're not trying to destroy Starkiller Base. They're just trying to disable the oscillator, which is the word they tacked onto it.
And this is explained explicitly.
Right, so they're just trying to disable the oscillator. Apparently, if you disable the oscillator, this giant explosion that's going to be funneled toward a certain direction, and the explosion, mind you, is powered by the sun.
Yes, true.
It's just not going to work out quite the way they planned. And the way it ends up working out is that the entire planet is kind of enveloped into the sun. If you notice that, it's not like the planet explodes necessarily. It's just like this power of the sun that has just been filtered into the central core of the planet is then released not out the the barrel of the rifle, but just released.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, they didn't think that they were going to be able to destroy it in that sense. They didn't think that it was going to blow up, at least, or be enveloped by the sun. They just thought that they were going to disable it and then get out of there.
Right.
Which, even disabling it, wasn't a cakewalk. They wouldn't have been able to do it with just X-Wings, people.
Right.
If they were flying in there with the X-Wings, as you noticed, there's that line, Poe Dameron's like, give it everything you got, and then they like shoot at it, and then he like starts flying away.
Direct hit!
Yeah. But no damage! No damage is done. And he's like, we're going to have to hit it a couple more times. Still doing no damage.
Right.
The only way that they're actually able to disable the oscillator is what it's called.
Yeah.
The only way that they're able to disable that function of the Starkiller base is by actually blowing it up from the inside with Han, Chewie, and I guess Finn and Rey, but they're not really there to do that part. Right. But yeah, they're only able to do it with them.
Right. Finn is trying to get Rey.
Right.
It's an escape. What turned into his escape plan is now turned into a, well, let's sabotage this as much as we can.
Right. And so if that didn't happen, then they wouldn't have been able to get in there and disable the oscillator, which then in turn imploded the planet.
And they, of course, just in case, brought lots of explosives.
Yeah.
As was mentioned earlier when he's dropping them and he's like, careful those, they're explosives.
And to speak to the janitor comment, Finn may have once been in sanitary, but he's no longer in sanitary. He's about to execute all these people.
People.
Again, it's not a plot hole. It's just... The problem is with today's society, Andrew.
What is the problem with today's society, Derek?
Is that people can't think for themselves. They need to be spoon-fed information like babies.
Right.
I'm here to tell you that I hope that you watching right now, you're not like, but they didn't say explicitly that that was the case. I have to look into that. I don't like to look into things. You know, what do you want, people? You want the prequels again? Which had so much dialogue in it that they started like doing an in-run on themselves and destroying themselves? You want them to like give so much dialogue that it doesn't make sense?
Yeah, yep.
People walking around giving dialogue.
And it's not about trying to pick apart the movie anyways. I mean, when I sit down to a film, I want to trust the writers, which is a reason that you want to have good writing, and the directors and people making the story.
Right.
To just give me something that I want to see.
Exactly. You know? And that's another good point, is that when somebody gives you a story through the medium of film, you as the viewer are going to see it not to pick it apart, not to be necessarily looking for every problem, but what you will notice is if the story isn't written good, there will be moments that take you out of the film. Right. That's what you want to avoid. Now, if you're saying that, The Force Awakens had so many moments in it where I was just taken out of the film because of something that happened.
That's not good.
That's not good. However, watching this film as a huge Star Wars fan myself, and you as a huge Star Wars fan too, I can honestly say that there was maybe like one moment where I was like, wait, and then I was like, oh, no, that's okay. You know, I was able to look over it and just get right back on board with it.
Right.
And the second time was even better because that didn't even happen. And I realized that it was just my own problem.
It's all your own problems. That's what it is. We have our own problems to deal with. We all do.
So that's about it as far as plot holes go.
Plot holes.
So if you've liked this video, feel free to like the video by pressing the button that says like. Right. Is it a button or is it a thumb?
It's a thumb up, but you hover over it and I think it like highlights. But we got to keep in mind that they may update YouTube at any moment, in which case...
Press whatever the like button is at this moment in which you're currently watching it. And if you want to subscribe, press whatever the subscribe button is.
That's right.
At this moment that you're watching it.
And join us next time for whatever else on the dialogue.